Before we get started tonight, ladies and gentlemen, another episode here on Fast Break live for iSports Radio. I want to talk to y'all about the last 9 years of the company. For the last 9 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports leagues around the country. All the while, we continue by the fans for the fans, and with your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iSports Radio, you'll see a Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one, starting at just $5 a month. This donation gets you shout out to all 32 of our shows. Higher tiers include iSports Radio merchandise, access to our podcast and university, even a chance to be featured on a 7-hour flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make iSports Radio your great feed for all its sports. I want to shout out to our 4 Patreon members, Bay Area Rays, Marcus Lowe's Great, and Anonymous. Thank you all for making 9 years special for iSports Radio, and we'll continue to truck on for 9 more years after. Now on to the show. On tonight's broadcast, we'll discuss the thrilling Game 6 conclusion between the Heat and the Celtics. The Miami screwed the pooch at the end. Did Boston overcame the Heat's resilience and sneak one away? What about the time? Was it added time without being explained? We'll discuss all that happened in this game. Plus, in Game 7, who had more pressure to win? Miami or Boston? Plus, the Bucks hired a new head coach, Adrian Griffin, former assistant for the Toronto Raptors, with Giannis blessing. We'll talk about how he shakes up Milwaukee and what can he do different than Mike Budenholzer. Plus, all the news, reactions around the basketball world. This is Fast Break, live on iSports Radio. You're the read for all his sports, and you're welcome to join us. And join us as you tell tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to talk about, lots to get into here tonight. A thrilling Game 6 between Miami and Boston, in which we kind of saw Boston kind of coming to the gate playing strong, playing great. Tatum, Brown, playing great for a half until Tatum disappeared in the second half. But it has the ups and downs, especially in that fourth quarter. But he had Boston sneaking the victory away thanks to a Derek White tip in at the final buzzer to have Miami go up 104-103, in which we have a Game 7 this Monday, which is tomorrow, Memorial Day, 7:30 in Beantown. D-Lock, how you doing tonight, sir?
Everything is going pretty well, man. It was a great weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We have a hell of a game tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure a lot of us did not expect. So we're which is great for the podcast, obviously. So it's going to be something interesting to happen, man. I'm still in shock about what happened yesterday, but definitely excited to see more of this series. Given the fact that the Heat were up 3-0, and now we're down deadlocked into one game that determines who moves on to the NBA Finals.
Let's go down the stat line real quick of this past Saturday's game or yesterday's game. Tatum had a great game first half wise. Going on with Jaylen Brown. 31 points, 12 rebounds for him. Jaylen Brown, 26 and 10 rebounds for him. Marcus Smart played very well, consistently throughout the board for Boston. Robert Williams had a good game off the bench. Then you look at the other side. Butler had 24 points. A lot of those came in like in the second half. 11 rebounds for him. Caleb Martin, who's kind of being the real consistent piece, for Miami in this series that kind of really kept them afloat with his scoring. Bam Adebayo, 11 points, 13 rebounds for him. Gabe Vincent, who is back in this game, 15 points for him. Duncan Robinson, will probably really talk about him a lot here in this game. 13 points for him off the bench, in which, boy, he missed some key shots toward the end. And Kyle Lowry, 8 points off the bench for him. What were your thoughts, D-Lock, on this game? Because it's like, at one point in the end of that first half, Miami had a good comeback. And then, you thought, okay, they might, pull ahead. Might be a tight contest in that second half. But then again, Boston, they pulled away, had double-digit lead, especially going to the fourth quarter. But they let Miami back into the fold of things. And then we know what happened towards the end of the game. What were your thoughts on this game and how Boston, came back and tied this series 3-3? What are your thoughts about Boston tying the series 3-3, going back to Beantown, and trying to make a return trip to the NBA Finals?
Well, for me, even though they, had that fourth quarter where they let Miami kind of, get back in and make it a competition, I feel like this is a game that, Miami should have won. They're at home. They've already let Boston have 2 games back-to-back. Clearly, this game is probably the most important because now it turns into a one-game series. You were up 3-0. You had a chance to close it at home. Didn't do that. Had a chance to close it in Boston. Didn't do that. Then you had another chance to close it at home. So, this is why you play for home court advantage. We're going to see the difference between a team that's ranked first and a team that's ranked 8th. Now, one-game series. Boston has the game at home. They're in the best position. But for me, this game was clearly Boston had control of this game for the most part. Usually what we've seen, if you let Miami hang around, they find a way to win the game. Jimmy Butler gets hot at one point, and then everything changes. And that's what we've seen. We literally seen the fourth quarter come around. Jimmy Butler wasn't doing too much. Hell, all game long. He got hot late, and we were seeing Miami change the momentum. It was a big foul at the three-point line, which we thought was a two-pointer, but it was a three-point foul. Jimmy Butler gets 3 shots. About we thought was 2.1 seconds, turned to 3 seconds left, which we'll touch into. Jimmy Butler takes 3 shots. They take the lead, and just enough time for Boston to dial up a play and have a B plan in case that play doesn't work. So for me, it just seemed like Boston was leading this game and had control of this game for the most part. It just let Miami stick around just enough to make it even more challenging the last minute and a half, 2 minutes. And, when it was time to make the final play, Boston did it. They wanted it more. One thing that we touched on was the fact that Miami kept getting boxed out all game long. It was huge. They've been getting boxed out all series. And at the most important time of the series, not just the game, the damn series, Derek White gets the board and gets the putback. So for me, I feel like this game was, one that Boston really controlled at some point. They were ahead for the most part. Yeah, like I said, Miami did, grab a little bit of momentum. They had the crowd rocking at home, which you're supposed to, but, they never really controlled the game. They kind of took a lead, let Boston, stick around. And this is what happens when you let good teams stick around. They find a way to win. You're in the Eastern Conference Finals. This is not a regular season game. This is not the first round of the playoffs. We're talking about the Eastern Conference Finals. This game or this series determines who goes to the NBA Finals. And two of the better teams in the East, competition is what it is. We've already had high expectations for Boston. Being the fact that they were in the NBA Finals last year, then went and traded for the sixth man of the year in Malcolm Brogdon. They got shit done. And at this point, now Miami has to go back and figure out what the hell they're gonna do to get this game 7 win, because right now they're on the break of giving up, the first 3-0 lead ever in playoff history. And it's going to be very tough for them to get this done. I think the last few 3-0 series that we've seen that went to game sevens, the team that was up 3-0 actually had a game at home. So that kind of helped. This is the first time that the team that was up 3-0 has to go away for game 7. So there's a good chance that we may see history. But again, I feel like Boston really wanted this game, and they played like it.
Man, this game is something else. Miami's defense, up to a point, it was putrid. It was very putrid. They weren't boxing out at certain points, and like you alluded to, it bit them in the ass in the worst way at the end of that game. In which I thought, when the buzzer sounded, I thought, damn, he didn't get the tip in at time, and Miami won the game. But then they showed a replay and stuff like that. And yeah, he got in just in time. And if y'all watch that last sequence where we talk about the boxing out and stuff like that, there's like 2 or 3 Celtics on that board, and I think only just one Heat player under there. And if they got Marcus Smart taking that last shot, I mean, if he makes it, he makes it. But it's like they had like 2 or 3 guys run out of him. It's not like you going Steph Curry out there. And no offense to Marcus Smart, he was playing very great, shot the ball very well in Saturday's game. Well, come on now, I mean, just stay at home, D him up. If he makes it, he makes it. If he don't, it is what it is. But to have like two guys or so run out of him, and then you kind of neglect the paint down low. And this is kind of like in coaching. Spoelstra maybe should have had Cody Zeller out there just in case. Just like for height reasons and just for like a box out reasons for a long rebound, and just in that point, just kind of have some protection down low just in case. Because if Cody Zeller down there, you got some length, you got somebody kind of distribute the shot. I'm not saying Bam Adebayo can, but with this height and stuff like that, and his switchability and all that, to guard multiple positions, you could easily draw him out the paint compared to Zeller. Now, of course, last second like that, still, But you kind of get my point. But for Boston's sake, they got lucky, D-Lock. And they got lucky because they had multiple double-digit leads in this game. Some people are saying, like, well, Miami's been up 3-0 and all this stuff. True. But as I see it, when you look in the context of this game, Boston should handle this team very easily. The way things were going, the way they were playing, they should have handled them. And this is all with Jason Tatum when they went up double digits that second half. Once again, this is all with Jason Tatum not scoring a point. Mind you. And I think, Joe Mazzulla, I think he's still trying to learn and stuff like that. But we kind of up like that. You got to pull Tatum to the side and say, hey, man, we're up this big. Let's go in and finish out. Then we come back home and do the job and get back to the finals. And they almost, screwed the pooch here. Lucky they won. Lucky, they didn't box out Derek Wright. But let's be honest, Boston almost screwed the pooch here. On not winning this game. And now we're going back to Boston. I don't know, D-Lock. It's like, I know some of y'all in the chat saying, I want to shout out to the chat. Shout out to Adam Carnett. Shout out to Larry B, the founder. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez. I know some of y'all chat saying, Miami turned to a pumpkin. Boston got all this momentum now. And I'm not saying they do. But the way they've been playing this series, I'm not gonna give them a shoe in to win Game 7. Not saying they could. Not saying they could be like what they did to Philly last series, and beat them down at home. But just the way they kind of let things up in that second half against Miami is just like, yeah, I'm not saying y'all can win, but they can win also, if you get my drift.
I definitely think that, this series is, up for grabs. It's just, when you have a 3-0 lead, all the hype, all the expectations they're going to win, it's going to be over. That goes out the window now. The momentum changes. So for me, I think that, Miami still have proven, hey, we've got 3 wins. We deserve to be here. Cool. But 3 chances of beating a team that clearly had the last game at home shows what they were expecting. And you're right, anybody could take this game. It's not a for sure lock for Boston. But I think one thing that was very important I realized is, you could have had this game locked up 2 or 3 games ago, but since you played it to go to Game 7, injuries play a part. The chemistry, all these different things that can play a part going into 7. But at the end of the day, any team between those 2 can take this victory. Now, granted, this gives you that feel of being in NFL where you have a home game and you have that home field advantage. Because in a sense, that's what Boston has now, that home court advantage. Game 7, only 1 game is on the line. That place is going to be packed. I believe Paul Pierce said at the Game 5 that he was going to be there. Guaranteed that it was going to go back to Game 7. So, Boston is going to bring a crowd.
I mean, we know what they do up north with their teams. So for me, I think that closing this game out in Miami was a big plan for Miami. Now that does not that didn't happen. Uh, they're gonna have to come in there and play twice as hard in Boston because best believe now you're in a different atmosphere, and we're talking about Boston as well. So not a for sure win for anybody, but Game 7 in Boston after having a 3-0 lead with the pressure of the history being broken, I'm pretty sure both teams are definitely gonna be feeling.
Yeah, there's gonna be pressure on both teams, and not just the teams. I look at that my Boston side, the pressure going back home, the pressure to finish the job, the pressure going back to the NBA Finals. A lot of pressure on Joe Mazzulla, who you've seen some reports saying that this team still misses Ime Yukata. So you got that pressure. You got him trying to get that monkey off his back to kind of show that he does belong. That he does belong on this stage and with this team and with the caliber players on his roster and Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and others. A lot of pressure on him. Brad Stevens, kind of picked Mazzulla to take over. If they lose this game, do changes coming back to this roster? Jaylen Brown's a free agent, I believe, this offseason. A lot of questions there. If they lose this game, do they shake up things, kind of shake up this core a little bit? For Boston, interesting questions. Miami, the pressure on them. Spoelstra. I mean, I know he's Pat Riley's boy, but can the seat be a little hot under him if they lose the series after being up 3-0? Do Miami, if they lose the series, do they make some wholesale changes? Do they try to grab another superstar? Do missing a Tyler? Do they I don't say pressure Tyler Hero to play next game, but do missing a Tyler Hero be the fix from next year and kind of roll with the same group next season? So a lot of pressure for both teams. I think it leans more to the Boston side because they got the history, the lineage and stuff like that, and playing for that fan base that that kind of like play victim to the sports boogeyman in a sense. Who you got winning this game? Let me ask you this: Who you got winning this game?
I ain't gonna lie, man. I really want Miami to win this series, but it's over, man. You can't lose 3 games in a row and come back feeling as confident as you did. You can, but I just don't see it happening. You're up 3-0, got a game at home, give them that game. Jaylen Brown, one of the players, literally telling you, don't give us one. So he's mocking you, right? He's telling you, hey, give us one, you gotta worry about 2. So in your mind, you're thinking, okay, well, ain't gonna give you 1. They give him 1. Comes back and says the same thing for 2. Hey, don't give us 2. Give him 2. Boom. Hey, if you give us 3, now you're in trouble. They gave him 3. But they didn't give him 3. Boston went and took 3 games back to back to back. I don't see Boston losing at home. Game 7. Going to the NBA Finals. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Malcolm Brogdon, 6th Man of the Year. Derek White. It doesn't happen at this point. It would be more understanding if you had Tyler Hero walking out the locker room. Hell, even a Victor Oladipo, coming out there to give you some type of minutes, but they don't. So for me, I really like what Jimmy Butler has brought to, the table. Jimmy Butler playoffs is different than Jimmy Butler in the regular season. But Boston is too much, man. One more game on the line. I don't see it. I think we're going to see history tomorrow.
I love Jimmy Butler's confidence, but it's just like the confidence has kind of gone away a little bit. He's putting up a good front, but I'm going to be on the same side of you. I'm going to say Boston's going to win. But I think it's going to be due to the strong play of Jaylen Brown and Al Horford. Now, some of y'all saying, what about Jason Tatum? He could come in and have a strong game. I'm not denying that. But it's just like, I time see this dude disappear at certain points. And I think those two guys, Brown, Horford, probably the charge. And I think Tatum, he'll get his points. But I think it will be like the play of Al Horford and Jaylen Brown push Boston to the point to win the game. Now, the only way I see Miami's winning, if Bam Adebayo has a strong game, because he's been real quiet this series. If Bam Adebayo has a strong game, can get Al Horford in foul trouble, dominate down low, then Miami got a good strong chance. And Jimmy Butler is consistent in each quarter. I think Miami got a chance. I'm not worried about Caleb Martin. I think he's been very consistent in this series, so I'm not sweating him. Kevin Love, they play him like 5-6 minutes and they just sit him on the bench. I say maybe give Kevin Love an extended run and see what we can get out of him before they send him out for the rest of the game. So I look at those points for Miami size like Bam Adebayo, he's got to have a big game. Jimmy Butler, he's got to be consistent. And then finally, the rest of those role players, they got to have big moments and stuff like that. And speaking of role players, Duncan Robinson. He had not one, but two wide open, butt naked 3-point shots to kind of really turn the game into Miami's favor. That dude's more wide open from you living in Atlanta to all the way to damn Douglasville, Georgia. That's how wide open he was.
He was, you're right.
And it's just like he screwed the pooch on that. It's like, dog. That first one, he should have made that one. That was just, he took his sweet time with that, and he just should have just shot it. And then the second one, me and you texting back and forth. I'm not saying he should have took it. You're on the side that he shouldn't have took that shot. When we texted each other, I don't know. I just felt like I thought maybe it was like a redemption shot if he made that, but of course it didn't go in, and kind of felt like He left 6. He left 6 points on the board there. And I'm just thinking, what's his confidence going to be like going to Game 7? I had a chance to kind of help my team win, seal the victory. Now I got to go into this place and trying to, play well again. If you're Duncan Robinson, D-Lock, how do you feel going to Game 7? Confidence. I don't know what his confidence like, but does he have to shake it off and have a strong game in order for this team to win?
I think so. I think the biggest thing is for him bringing that energy, because they don't have that many guys off this team on the bench right now. Let's be honest. Like I said, talking about Oladipo, talking about Tyler Hero, they don't have that many shooters that can come in and play a big part off the bench. His minutes have been bumped up because of that. Last game being 3 for 6 from 3-point land, those 2 big threes that he missed. He's gonna have to come in and play incredible minutes for him, and be able to make the shot that he need. I believe he did have a blow up game. I think the last game he did have that 18-point game. 9 boards. He played pretty well. That Game 5, but they're gonna need him to bring the energy, because right now, bringing in a Highsmith who's probably not gonna play, Jovic who ain't seen no damn minutes since the regular season. Like that. Caleb Martin is going to play Yurtsen 7. Those guys are not going to play. They're damn doing the same thing that Udonis has them doing. So right now, Duncan Robinson is going to have to step up and play big. Now, granted, he's not a starter, so you're going to need Strus to play big, especially for them, at this moment. But this is why now this Game 7, this is the most important game of the series. And everybody knows that. From the coaches to the staff, to the coaches, to hell, everybody that's involved with every franchise. And, this is the chance for them to actually show what they're about, and be serious about this. But you got to get your shots in. Now, again, what's going to make it difficult is now we're talking about that home court advantage. So, for me, I think that you're looking at Duncan Robinson as one of the key players off the bench. Clearly, he is known for his three-point shots, but they're going to have to score some points, man. He's going to have to play a huge part, because Jimmy Butler is not going to be able to do it alone, especially not the Game 7. So I expect him to play a big part, and also Kyle Lowry is going to have to be aggressive as well.
So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. I think we both got Boston winning. I think we both outlined our points. Why Boston would win, and then gave it to on the other side why Miami should win. But it's Game 7. We shall see. How things turn about tomorrow night. But D-Lock, we'll stay in the East real quick. Milwaukee hired Adrian Griffin, assistant coach for the Toronto Raptors. He's been assistant coach at several other places as well. Like Dallas, and I believe Phoenix. Off the top of my head. And I want to say Chicago as well as the assistant coach. But he got hired as the new head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. There's reports saying that Giannis gave his stamp of approval after talking to him. So, if he's cool with Giannis, then the organization, had to, do the deal. What are your thoughts on Griffin getting hired by the Bucks, and what can you see he do differently compared to a Mike Budenholzer with this team?
I think the biggest thing is we're talking about a guy who's been, around the NBA for a very long time. Um, as a player, you know, as a coach, he's been with, he's been assistant, I think, since '08. In fact, he started out in Milwaukee. So this is not anything new to him. He was in Toronto for a while. Obviously NBA champion, being the fact he was there when they had Kawhi Leonard, got it done. So he has, that resume that shows that he can, somewhat be a hell of a coach, also being a pretty good player as well. My thing is he's going to have to, bring that similar energy that he got or that he's seen in Toronto. Now, we know what Toronto was, and we see who brought that energy for Toronto, and it was a one Kawhi Leonard. I think he has a player very similar, hell, even better in Giannis Antetokounmpo. And for me, I think that it's going to play a huge part in how he coaches them, how he gets that unit together. You got, we talk about how weak the East is. I think he's coming in a prime position. He just have to get things done with that roster, and get things rolling. I mean, the Milwaukee is already one of the better teams in the East alone. So now you're not necessarily stressing yourself out about trying to put the roster together because you have a pretty solid roster. So I think that he'll be fine. Getting comfortable with his athletes, knowing how to coach them, knowing how different they are from, a Pascal Siakam, a Van Fleet. He has to go out here and show what he can do as a coach. And this is probably the best position to be able to do that. Having a NBA MVP, in Giannis. So I think the biggest thing that he will bring is that the pace that they run. I mean, I think that's something that many people didn't pay too much attention about with Milwaukee. I wonder how he's going to add to this roster, or if he just keeps it exactly the same. How does he draft X, Y, and Z? So, for me, I mean, it's good to see that he gets his opportunity, but now that the opportunity has been presented, you have to do something with it. And, you're in a very prime position having a Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, and Giannis on your team. I believe Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis are free agents. So even with that, you still got the core to that roster. With that core, they're going to always have high expectations. So he just has to know that and, prepare for it. You got you a great leader in Giannis, so now just, get shit done in a sense.
For me, I think it was a very good hire. I think, it's fresh blood. As I always bring up on this show, I like seeing fresh blood as a head coach. I don't like seeing retreads. Y'all hear me talk about this on the show before. I'm trying to figure. We'll see what he does differently with this squad, and also in what leadership up top brings in with this. What to kind of shake with this roster, because got a lot of guys in the 30s: Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. Those strong contending guys are in the 30s. And then in the bench behind them, Pat Connaughton is great. Portis is great in their roles. But you kind of need a little bit more. If we just stick to their division here, I shoot the thing about Lonzo and who knows what's gonna happen with him. And the Bulls are just kind of like just there at the moment. Vucevic is a free agent. DeMar's on last year's deal. Lonzo, reports saying that his basketball career may be over. Similar to like Brandon Roy. Patrick Williams, he's a solid role player, but he's not fourth over the wall type of turning franchise type of player. Kobe White, probably the same boat as well. So the Bulls, they're just there right now, and to be honest with you, Milwaukee, you kind of not worried about them. And plus, they don't got their own first round pick this year in a pretty good, solid draft class. So there's that. The Pistons, they got a lot of young talent, but they still haven't had hired a head coach yet. That I'm aware of. Let me double check that. They still on this coaching search. I know I saw Monty Williams dropped out. I think Detroit made him a good offer, but he decided not to go there. So I don't know which way they're going. Kevin Ollie seems like the odds favorite. We'll see when they announce that, which it should be soon here. But Detroit is just a young roster right now. Young roster with some questions. Kay Cunningham, 2 seasons in a row that he has gone out with injury. They traded for James Wiseman. They got Jalen Duren. So whoever the new head coach is, you got to figure out what you're going to do with some of those young bigs. I think, me personally, I think you can play Jalen Duren and Wiseman together. I think trying to think. You play those two guys together, have Jalen Duren at the 4, Wiseman at the 5. Got to find somebody at the 3 to kind of really complete that squad. And that's what them kind of not falling down D-Lock in the draft lottery to number 5 really kind of did them no favors. And if they land number 2, drafted Brandon Miller, put in that group, that would go a long way with them.
Yeah, big time.
And now, them dropping number 5. I'm not saying they can get. I'm not saying they can get somebody solid number 5, but you're kind of creaming the crop goes away after 1 and 2. Cleveland, I think, is your Milwaukee's biggest challenge. I think everybody says healthy with Cleveland, D-Lock. I think they're going a long way. I think this playoff showed that with 2 big men like Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, they got beasted by Mitchell Robinson. And if y'all can't handle Mitchell Robinson, then you got to change things up right there. And also, I think for Cleveland, I think they're kind of similar in Detroit. If they find a good 3-man, I think they'll go a long way for the squad. In my humble eyes. And then the Pacers, I'll wrap this up very quickly. Rebuild mode as well. Kind of odd decisions they have done, like extending like Miles Turner and stuff like that. So they got a lot of roster turnover as well. So Milwaukee, Adrian Griffin is coming in a great situation with Giannis. One of the best players in the world. I think as long as you got him, I think you're in championship contention. So, as long as you right the ship, he stays healthy, I think you got nothing to worry about in this division besides Cleveland.
Correct.
Those other three squads, rebuild mode. Well, Indiana, Detroit, rebuild mode. Chicago, as Adam Carnick, probably knows about Chicago ownership and all pro teams up there. They just kind of do their own thing and kind of shoot themselves in the foot to the point that your franchise feels it for years down the road. Like you see with the Bears at times, Bulls, White Sox, Cubs, the Blackhawks.
Like it's the same thing.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, it's the same thing with their franchise. I mean, they continue to make those decisions that impact their franchise for years. And we've seen it in every Chicago team. So, and that's just to say, I mean, we've seen the news about Lonzo possibly not being able to dribble a ball again or play basketball. Now obviously we've heard that from different athletes or different players. They come back and play, but it's just that this is something that happens with the Chicago teams. So to piggyback back to Milwaukee, they aren't in the division where you're not dealing with a lot of competition. That's why I said earlier, as far as being in the East, the East is not going to be a heavily crowded, division or conference. And even if it was, hell, you have one of the top 5 players in the NBA healthy. So, and I think that's one of the reasons why Milwaukee didn't get out of that round is because of the injury to Giannis. So, for me, I think that is a great spot to be at. But now you just have to get your pieces together. One thing I'm hearing now, me coaching now, is I'm hearing a lot of coaches say that to make your team better, one thing that you have to learn how to do is recruit. And the reason why they say it is because they want you to put yourself with the best athletes, And now, Coach Griffin's in a situation now where he has a Drew Holiday, a Chris Middleton, a Giannis, like that core. That's a pretty decent core. Let's not forget this is the same core that won a championship a few years ago.
And we talk about Boston and stuff like that in their core. At least with Milwaukee in their core, they won a championship. That's one thing you can't take away from them, from Middleton, Holiday, and Giannis. They won a championship. So, in my eyes, my only question about Milwaukee, Middleton's knees. The ACLs, he's been kind of dealing with those the past year or so. Can his ACLs hold up if, they're going to kind of continue this group? Or do Milwaukee, kind of senses that and say, well, thank you for your services, Chris, but, we'll trade you elsewhere to someone else. I think that's one thing, Milwaukee's got to look at. Okay, we got a new coach here. How can we improve? Well, our small forward here has been having knee issues here for the past couple of years. Can we upgrade that? What can we do to do better there? I can't. I mean, if you look around the league, to see who's available, to fill that void. Only person I can really say that to kind of upgrade that spot, get a little bit younger, and maybe look at an OG Obuane from Toronto. Maybe. If not, maybe look at Pascal Siakam from Toronto. That'd be a good option. I'm trying to think who else out there. If you look out west, I don't know what the Clippers are going to do with Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. I doubt they want to leave because they're back at home around LA. But I'll maybe try and take a stab at Paul George if I was Milwaukee. I mean, I know Paul George is like 31, 32, but if I'm trying to make a move, I'm looking. That's the person I'll probably take a stab at right there. But hell, if Middleton is good and healthy, keep him. But if these issues still are worrisome, they may have to move off of him. What you think about that?
Is it Milwaukee?
Yeah, Middleton is his knee issues. You think they so high and move him for somebody younger?
They could. I mean, it depends on who's out there. The biggest thing is when you are moving a player with that caliber that has helped you win a championship, the first championship in years. I think that you have to look at what you're going to get for him. And are they moving him for a much younger player that's already established, or are they looking for draft picks to build around? This is the reason why, like I said, Griffin is in that prime position, a great situation. Because honestly, what you really need to be competitive is you need Giannis. If you keep Giannis around, you can build around this guy, and you can have that team that is very competitive throughout seasons, as long as he's there throughout his career. So it just depends. I mean, but now I would think that, honestly, I think they will see what happens with Chris Middleton this season. If they see the same thing that they've seen this past year with injuries and different things, then I think they consider moving him. But the only issue with that is I think his worth drops down, because now you're seeing the repeat of injury situations. And for me, I think that plays a big part. Now what does play a part of that is, this is kind of off to the side a little bit, but free agency, you got a lot of big free agents out there, man.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at the list right now.
So, I mean, you're looking at, we know what Chris Middleton is. He showed you that, you don't want to continue wasting years with Giannis, who clearly shows how much of an impact he is. Let's not throw names out there. You can throw names out there like a Kyrie, James Harden, who just shot down Philly. These are just names that nobody's thinking of going to Milwaukee, but you get off of Chris Middleton, can you possibly pull one of these players or one of these free agents that could make a huge impact to a Giannis in Milwaukee? Because, when Giannis was hurt, had slight injuries, they couldn't depend on Chris Middleton. And that's just the honest facts. So now, do you put yourself in the name with one of these prestigious athletes, one of these athletes that can make a big difference? So for me, I wouldn't rule against it, but I think if they do move off of Chris Middleton, they definitely make a big plan to go get somebody that can make a big impact, who is a hell of a lot younger than Chris Middleton.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list real quick. Very good, interesting names on the free agent tracker. Just go down some names real quick. Like you alluded to, James Harden. I think he's gonna opt out, and he's probably going back down to Houston. Maybe. Middleton actually has a player option that he can opt into. So So it'll be really to see that he opts into that option or not. Then you got Russell Westbrook, I think, who probably resign back for the Clippers. Kyrie, Kristaps, he has a player option. D'Angelo Russell, he's unrestricted free agent. Kevin Love, Vucevic, Draymond Green is a player option at $24 million. He'll be real interesting to see if he declines that. Fred VanVleet, player option as well. Harrison Barnes, unrestricted free agent. Jeremiah Grant. And that's a name to kind of keep an eye on because he was offered a contract, but never really by Portland, but never really took the deal. Just going down the list, Christian Wood, he's your unrestricted free agent. Brook Lopez, he's your unrestricted free agent as well. Kuzma, Jordan Clarkson, Josh Hart, all got player options. That'll be real. Those three guys can be interesting to watch what's going to happen with them. Kelly Oubre, Dylan Brooks, Tyler Horton Tucker. He got a player option. Played very well for the Utah Jazz this year. So this is some of the names, right? You know, that are available for free agency and all that stuff. Rui Hachimura, another name right there, who I think the Lakers would be silly to let go. If they do, Jenny Buss should just sell the team by then. But anyways, those are some of the names right there. Any final thoughts, D-Lock, before we get out of here?
I mean, like I said, I think that we have the huge game tomorrow, and we'll definitely touch on to it. Then clearly we'll lead into the NBA Finals. But the East has gotten a hell of a lot more interesting. The great news is, even with the NBA Finals going on, post that, obviously you have the NBA Draft. And then we got some huge-ass names in the free agency that we're going to touch on as well. So I'm definitely excited to see what tomorrow brings. I think we both, like you said, we both think the Celtics are going to win. But at this point, man, I wouldn't be surprised if the Heat pull off the upset that me and you are not expecting. So I'm definitely excited to see what goes on with Milwaukee as well, because that find was surprising. Hopefully, they got the good guy to replace Budenholzer.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's a good hire for Milwaukee as well. We both got Boston winning tomorrow night, against the Miami Heat in the Garden. So we'll see, how that turns about. But thank you for tuning in tonight, ladies and gentlemen, on another episode here for Fast Break for IE Sports Radio. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me at Black-813. I definitely will be. Once you follow me, expect me to be tweeting a lot for tomorrow's game. I'm expecting Jason Tatum to have a hell of a game. But the Heat, Jimmy Butler as well. Let them know they can find you at the show's page. The page, yeah.
You follow the show's page at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR on Twitter. Do follow iSportsRadio.com on all your social media feeds. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, SoundCloud. Do follow us there on all social media accounts. Also, do go to iSportsRadio.com for all your latest show news and feeds and schedules. I have a Twitter on the side. Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288 on Twitter. I do another show on the side called The Crooks Process. You can follow the show on Instagram and Facebook. You'll see the CP logo at the profile pic. I posted my latest episode on Spotify, The Crooks Process. Do look out for that. Like I said, thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Tomorrow, Game 7. And then come June 1st, that's when the NBA Finals starts. And we'll dissect that series down to the bone. And plus, free agency, NBA Draft starting next month as well. So lots of basketball to talk about here in the coming months But we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.